business, you've hit a roadblock, right? So I'd suggest 9 out of 10 entrepreneurs start their businesses without having a lot of cash in their banks. And it's always a good way around because you're not losing anything at the end of the day, right?
Hey guys, welcome to the Up Next podcast, where we are interviewing teen entrepreneurs that are making it big time in the startup world. We are asking the questions we know you want to hear. Up Next is an app made for teens where anyone can join or build a real life startup.
So today we have Rayn, age 27, from India. He is the founder and CEO of Unschool, which is reinventing and learning, as well as enabling employability, helping a bunch of people out there. I can't wait to hear some more about it. He has founded this platform at the age of 25. Rayn, is there anything you'd like to add?
Oh, yeah, thanks a lot for having me over. Firstly, a pleasure is mine. So I founded Unschool when I was 25, currently heading the product and the business for the company. And yeah, really happy and glad to answer all your questions today.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear everything that's on your mind. So being the chief business officer, how did you know that your idea would work?
All right. The first thing is, I think entrepreneurs need to focus on the problems that affect them the most. I come from a background where education was given a lot of emphasis, but there was no implementation plan provided to, young adults, right? So right out of high school, I was told to choose the stream that every other friend of mine was choosing rather than what I was passionate about. So for 7 years, I did things that the entire society was doing per se. Yeah, so that's when I realized that education is something I'm super passionate about. I want to change how the country learns and educates themselves. That's when I knew that if I was part of the problem, everybody else across the same age would be. That's how I figured it out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. I actually talked about the subject of how education needs to be renewed and that it's kind of stayed the same over a very long period of time, and people have changed and the education system hasn't. So I'm sure that that's something that you guys are working on. So who would you consider your first mentor, and what did they help you go through?
All right. A couple of names come to me, but I would always go back to, taking my father's name because he was into business when I was very young. I understood what are the kind of challenges you would end up facing when you're starting up on your own. He didn't sort of scale it up as big as he dreamed of, but I think one of the first mentors would be him. And I consider myself as someone who learns from people's experiences. So bunch of names from books that I've read, someone like a Gary Vaynerchuk or say APJ Abdul Kalam. These have been people that I've learned from, their life experiences. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Well, yeah, knowledge is always power. Even if I didn't actually have the experience firsthand, it's always nice to read about it into specifics. And
correct.
And having your parents being like your first mentor, I hope that most people have the what do I want to call it? Like the positivity of having their parents being their mentors. So I'm happy that was part of the experience for you. How much time did it take for you to build the product that you launched?
Oh, in fact, products are never built completely until you have reached out to 1 million people, right? So we're still in the process of building what we started out about 2.5 years back. But it's always important for an entrepreneur to know the product goes out to the market in phases, right? You can never have, entire cake being delivered at the pastry shop. You need to make sure that, everything is going bit by bit. I would say we are 10% there in terms of the product being developed and being launched out. But in each path, we are seeing customers flow down, experience the platform or the product and sort of give us the feedback, right? So anyone in the product development or any entrepreneur who's out there, they should always know it's a decade-long runway that you take up on. You cannot launch the right product when you start off. A couple of examples out there, Airbnb or Uber, when they launched out, they had products or offerings that were nothing like what you get to see today. Right. So, they will keep evolving because they are out there to deliver the best experiences. And I think that's the journey that we're also at.
Very true. I think you brought up a very important point, something that not a lot of people maybe think of when they start creating, that this could take a while and I could launch and I could relaunch and I could start with an MVP and it's not going to be anything like the next thing that I'm launching. So it's something that, you build and you build, and sometimes it's like never ending, but in a positive sense.
Absolutely true. That is correct.
And was any funding needed to build your first version? And what would you recommend to those who don't have the way to get any money for their product?
All right. A lot of students ask me, because I mentor a lot of entrepreneurs as well, capital is a biggest challenge that people face today, because most of the entrepreneurs come from backgrounds which do not have a lot of cash in hand. So one suggestion to them is, money is definitely what you're jumping in the business for. You want to make a lot of it, which means that if you don't have a little in your hand, there might be more struggle than otherwise. But on the other hand, when I started off, we never needed funding. Me and my co-founder, Rahul, were very frugal enough to invest our own savings from 6 to 8 months of the work that we did the previous year, put that small amount and see the business scale. Right. And if you're not generating money within the first 3 to 4 months, if you're a consumer centric business, you've hit a roadblock. Right. So I'd suggest 9 out of 10 entrepreneurs start their businesses without having a lot of cash in their banks. And it's always a good way around, because you're not losing anything at the end of the day. Right. Funding will always come around if your product is a hit in the market. So capital is not the most essential thing.
That is, I'm sure, very comforting for a lot of people to hear, that they don't need to lean on money that they don't have, possibly.
Correct.
And how did you get those first users, those first customers aboard on the platform? What was that like?
Oh, it's super funny. So we did create a website. So we essentially sell upskilling and reskilling courses on the platform. For the first 3 months, we didn't even have a product in the back end when we started the sales. Right. So I think we were 3 months ahead in terms of product development and sales. Sales was happening faster. And in those 3 months is where we realized that people are buying from us. They are loving the way we are branding the product, which is what is very, very important as well at some times, because we are a tech platform. People usually don't have a lot of problems with tech now that everybody has a mobile phone in their hand. So we realized that the pitch, the marketing is something that we need to focus on very, very upfront. And every entrepreneur needs to keep that in mind, that if you're not in the places your customers are, your product's not going to shoot. Right? You can build the best car in the world, but nobody's going to buy it if you don't go to the right places. Right? So that's what we figured out the first 3 months. And anyone who's listening here, you need to be a salesperson before you actually become a tech person or a product person or whatever you want to be. Even the CEO at some point in time while building the business has sold the product. Right? So that's very, very important. We figured out in the first 3 months, we got about close to about $1,200 in sales. And then it just sort of increased 5 times, 20 times month over month. And it was a steady growth thereafter.
Well, yeah, that sounds like a great process. Before anything, you really do need to be a storyteller and to show people that you have a product that is better than anything else out there. And that's, the way the process starts. I totally agree.
Absolutely.
So being a young entrepreneur, do you think that younger entrepreneurs, like Gen Z entrepreneurs, have an advantage in building their own startup? And what would you say that advantage is?
Absolutely. I think the one advantage that the Gen Z entrepreneurs would have is people who have gained knowledge very early on in their life, right? I was introduced to a smartphone in 2012, right? I was 18. I think Gen Z probably had a mobile phone or a device in their hand when they were 8 years old, right? So they have a 10 years head start, correct? And I think the entrepreneurs are those people who've been very curious about these devices and not just using them for their day-to-day activities, right? So knowledge is definitely one bit. And the secondary part is I feel Gen Z entrepreneurs are very futuristic, and because they've come from a very settled background, they take risks much faster, right? We've seen the challenges very early on, so we are slightly more shy when we want to take risks early on, right? So I think Gen Z definitely has these two bits very, very sorted. And I think the third part would be social stigmas do not affect them, at least the ones that I've seen, right? So they don't care about what the 40, 50-year-old people think about how they're leading their life. Personally, I did pay heed to that early on. I don't think so. Someone who's 17, 18 today would care about that a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot more room for younger people nowadays to express themselves
Right.
and to not feel judged in any way.
Correct.
Also, the fact that you said with the phones is so true. I mean,
Yeah.
we were not born into a time where all of these different iPhones were already here. Like,
Correct.
we
Correct.
saw a new one and we're like, oh, you can touch the screen and it's new.
Absolutely. Correct.
What is one mistake that you would avoid?
I would say I should have started 5 years back. I think the first idea I got was when I was in my second year of college. And back then, I did not have the right kind of knowledge or the kind of people around me who would push me to start my business or my entrepreneurial career, right? So I think I was 5 years too late for the journey. So that's one thing. I wouldn't call it as a mistake, but definitely something that I kept aside. But otherwise, focusing on technology is something I've realized over time. The last 20 months have been a real eye opener that even though the customer doesn't care about what technology you are producing to them, you need to be enabling your business via technology. It's very cost effective. It helps you in faster deployments and pilots. So you learn, by falling really quickly if you use technology, right? We did do some mistakes in infrastructural investments, but I think we've learned from those over time.
Well, I'm sure that you've learned in as much as you would want to start earlier. I mean, it's always smart to start as early as you can, but the fact that you did start and you're in a great direction just shows that maybe your time was, as it was supposed to be.
Oh, correct. I think one of the very interesting TED Talks that I've heard, more often than not, businesses fail because of the times that they launch, right? I think me and my co-founder sort of met together a year and a half before the COVID pandemic hit the world. The last year has been a real upwards graph for us, working virtually and getting things done. So a blessing in disguise for sure, and definitely the right time to start, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, a lot of people that have created or started the platforms that they talked about throughout the year that Corona hit. And
Correct.
a lot of them found themselves being a lot more productive because they didn't really have anything else to do anyway.
That is correct.
So yeah, very much in disguise. So as you mentioned before, your co-founder, were you guys together from the beginning?
Oh, yes. So we know each other from when we were in college. It's been about 8 years of friendship, I would say. But then we sort of, I went to Nepal for a year, took up another marketing job in Mumbai. That's when he hit me up with a very basic idea of transforming the way education system was in the country. I quit my job and jumped on the train, I would say. Yeah, so but we've been together since we started, yes.
And what are 3 traits that you look for in a co-founder type of person?
The first thing, the first and foremost, is definitely someone that you know from the past who's trustworthy. A lot of trust is required because sometimes the other person has an upper hand in making decisions because they are more competent. So you need to be able to let go of your ego and have them take a call on what needs to be done. The second thing is, if you're looking for a co-founder, it is not a friend. Even if he or she was a friend before, they are a partner in the business you're running, which means they need to take care of things 50%. Yeah. So if I come from a non-technical background, my co-founder comes from a technology background. I take care of business to business partnerships. He knows business to customer sales, right? I know branding better. He knows marketing better. So, you need to always complement each other with the kind of skills you have, not just, competence, but also hard skills that you possess. And then the third thing definitely is, a common vision to have, right? I can't say that, hey, I want to jump out of this in 5 years. You need to be able to have your vision put down for a really long time, and then, sway through the course of it.
Well, yeah, I think you really do need to even each other out. And a lot of people will say working with friends isn't always, the best idea, but I think you guys are proving them wrong since, you have this friendship and this amazing base before anything else.
Correct. Absolutely.
This is great. I'm happy to hear. So as you said before, a mistake that you would avoid is getting into tech a bit faster than you did like in real life. So what is a tech tool that you can't go without? Something that you use all the time, like an app or a website?
For now, it's Google Calendars. I think I've been using it for a really long time. That's one that comes on the top of my mind. But in recent past, I've started using Slack a lot. All right, helps me connect with everything that's out there, from my CRM to my project management tools. So yeah, Slack number one and Google Calendars number two for sure.
Yeah, very organizational platforms, which a lot of people are loving lately.
Correct.
There really are so many. I've heard of Slack actually a few times. It sounds super helpful.
Oh, it is. Absolutely.
So which entrepreneurs inspire you the most these days? Who do you have your eye on?
There are definitely very many. See, I come from the Indian biosphere of entrepreneurs. So for me, anyone who's run a business for 40 years even though they're called businessmen, they're the real entrepreneurs for me. So someone like a Ratan Tata are the kind of people that I really inspire myself by. Someone like an Adi Godrej. These are people who've been running businesses for the last 3 to 4 decades. With the right kind of intention and utmost integrity. But if you look at the futuristic ones, Brian Chesky, co-founder of Airbnb. In fact, all the 3 co-founders. Through my Y Combinator journey, I've had the privilege of interacting with them. Or Michael Siebel, head of the Y Combinator cohort. These are kind of people who are very futuristic in what they do. But there are a lot of names because I'm already in the journey. There's, a list of them that I can name out.
So many that come to mind, but I like the fact that you mentioned the old-fashioned type of businessmen that were like entrepreneurs before we even started using that word so much.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah. So which trait of yours do you feel is your weakest and you need to outsource it somehow with an employee or maybe some kind of tech platform that does it for you?
All right. I haven't found an employee or a platform that can help me with this trait, but I'm super impulsive a lot of times. I haven't found any app that can help me with that. But I think the other bit would be, because I take care of a lot of tasks on a daily basis, mostly technology and backlog tasks, something that can remind me about what I'm missing out really helps me out. In fact, I use multiple tools for that. Slack would be for tasks, or Asana would be for the projects and daily tasks that I take care of, or sometimes even HubSpot for the email follow-ups that I do. Because I can only take care of so many things in my brain at one point in time. So yeah, these are the couple of things that I personally use on a daily basis.
Yeah, something always usually slips our mind and we don't even notice that it's not there anymore. So having all these organizational platforms are really helpful.
Oh yeah.
So let's say I am an average teenager looking to build my startup and I have $100. What or where or how would you tell me to use this money, if at all?
The one thing a teenage entrepreneur or any entrepreneur needs to understand is your solution has already been thought by someone across the world, right? So the first thing I would suggest this teenager to use their $100 is to invest it in buying that product that is the closest to what they are trying to build, right? Say if you're trying to build a car, again, you can't buy a car. I'm specifically talking about technology-based companies here. You should get a first hands-on to know what they are serving and how would you define yourself differently, right? If you're opening up a cab aggregator, I would probably want you to look at Uber, right? If you're looking at building a hotel software, probably booking.com or Tripoto, something like that, right? So once you get the hands-on on what they are doing, you'll be able to sort of think 10 years ahead of what these entrepreneurs did, right? And that really matters a lot for a teenage entrepreneur. And yeah, I think $100 is a lot of money to be invested to know about the products which are available.
Yeah, that's very true. Thinking of seeing what we already have in the world and thinking, okay, how is mine better? How is mine different? What is it offering that these people aren't offering? Those
Absolutely.
are, the questions we should be asking ourselves.
Very true.
How important do you think it is for young entrepreneurs to think about social change when creating a business?
Very big confusion that comes about to a lot of entrepreneurs. Most of us start the journey to definitely impact ourselves through building the business or churning a lot of money, however it is. But end of the day, entrepreneurs are a different league of people who can make change in the society faster than any other organization there, right? Because you're thinking out of the box, you're looking at a shorter runway. In 3 years, 1 million people to be impacted, right? So keeping social change and sustainability at the forefront of everything will absolutely make any entrepreneur a highlight, regardless of how big the business is. As long as you're impacting lives the right way, you will succeed somewhere down the line. So I personally feel it's super important. Even selecting the sector that you want to jump in. Each and every sector has its own social importance. And I think when you pick that specifically, you are on the right track somehow.
That's very true. I think even
for example,
when someone
Apple
starts building a platform and they're maybe
selling their
currently
adapters,
thinking about social
saying,
change,
hey, we
it
want to save
will
some plastic. You can use
eventually
your
come
older
up
adapters,
and
right?
be this
They could have done
thing
that 20
they
years back.
didn't know their
But I think
audience
entrepreneurs
needed
really
and that
think
they
about
are
these
making
things
change.
very early. I think a lot of older businesses are jumping into that right now.
A lot of entrepreneurs, their head is just in the future already, thinking like 10 years from now.
Absolutely.
So my last question, feel free to turn off your brain for a minute. It shouldn't be that complicated of a question. If you could have any superpower in the world, what would you pick?
All right. I love traveling. I would say teleportation.
That's what I would say. It's the easiest to get to places.
Yeah.
Saving money on plane tickets.
Correct. I mean, I've been super fascinated by any place outside of the country. So yeah, teleportation would be that place,
India is like my favorite country, so I'd probably teleport to there.
Oh yeah, all right.
Personal favorite of mine. Well, Rayn, it was great getting to know you and what you do. I think your insight was very important for a lot of people to hear from someone, experiencing it firsthand. So thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thanks a lot for yours as well.